learn as much as you can beforehand. You're going to make mistakes, but try and narrow down that level of mistakes you're going to be making by learning, by putting at least a year and a half of into it, and maybe use that money rather for film school or like a short program or something.
Yeah, because movie making isn't a race to the finish line. It's more a race for quality.
I think that if you've got a phone, then definitely use that in the learning process. Shoot little things by yourself and cut them together and see how it works, you know? Hi, I'm Mark.
I'm Yaku.
And I'm Kaylin.
And welcome back to Department Spotlight. It's the show where we talk to our friends and colleagues about their experiences in the film industry. And in this episode, it's part 2 of our Loop Pictures responds to Reddit questions. So let's get into it. Food on film sets? This question is from user Buried Hatchet YT. So I make short films with a very small crew, and we rarely ever eat on set. Can anyone with more experience tell me what you've eaten on a bigger budget film set? Just super curious as to what is catered. I always see head chef and catering bar in film credits, and I'm just genuinely curious what the catering consists of. Thanks. Well, straight out of the gate, man.
Feed your crew, man.
Feed your people.
What? They're probably not eating and you're saying it's okay, but they are probably hungry.
Yeah, we spoke about this in a different podcast. But you gotta feed your people, man.
And no matter how small your budget is, I feel like a budget should always be contributed.
Yeah.
Not just
even if the whole budget goes to food, there has to be food.
Yeah, because not just for legal reasons, but also just for energy levels in terms of for actors and crew. It just even if they say they're not hungry and stuff, maybe sometimes it's just being modest. Keeping the energy levels good, because it's the smallest thing that helps with morale. I think food is one of the basic things.
Being hangry is a thing. And especially towards the end of the film day, your cinees who are carrying cameras, moving lights, grips, those people get super grumpy if you don't feed them.
Especially if you have a grumpy AD, he's gonna go from being just grumpy to being I'm gonna kill you.
I'm curious, Mr. What's his name? Buried Hatchet YT. Are people grumpy on your set? Because that's probably why.
Yeah, and even okay, I know you said you were small budget with your friends, and even if they are okay with it and stuff, I don't think it's something I think just for the sake of having good energies and good vibe, I think it's gonna be something that's a bad habit to go into moving on. That if you do have others, to have it be a last thought, food be a last thought, it's kind of a bad habit to have. So I think just to for your next project, just even if it is your friends and if they don't complain, I think just have it there because it's a good habit to start getting into, and friends will appreciate it and they will want to come onto more sets because it just gives a better energy. It's the smallest thing you can do to bring on a better energy.
Yeah, and I think even if you don't have the money to pay for it yourself, tell them, bring some money and then we'll put it together and we'll get stuff for everyone. Yeah. Just eat, because he specifically said we don't eat on set. Just eat.
Especially because he didn't, I don't know if he specified the work hours, but if it's 3 or 4 hours, then maybe that's okay. But if it's a full work day, you have to have some food on set. And just to answer his question, I guess, on things we've had on set, I think from smaller budgets, Jackie, you can talk to about things you brought on.
We've had many things. Pizza is a very cheap one. If you just get one pizza, you get 8 slices. So that's cool. Otherwise, we've been catering things. We don't have head chef or whatever, but we do have a catering company. Usually it used to be just platters, and then because since COVID they've boxed it up nicely into boxes and
no.
But what's in there is usually quiches, little there's a dessert thing, a brownie, there's sausages, chicken wings, vegan options. I don't know what's in there as well, but just finger food basically, and enough of that to fill a person for half a day.
Yeah, and in conjunction with the actual meal that you get, we also have a craft table that's just basically snacks, packet of chips, some crisps, wherever you are in the world, one of those things, some chocolates, some natural bars, the granola bars or things like that. And water and juice. I don't know if there's water and juice on this guy's sets, but you know the basics.
Yo, there has to be water.
Water or juice, not just like a tap or something. Just something like that for the crew. And then when you go on to bigger sets, it's obviously there is obviously the head chef and the caterers that they bring out, and it's like the ADs and all that know that like when it's time for lunch, there's nothing more important because it's law that they have to take a break, they have to eat after a certain amount of hours. So when you get onto the bigger sets, obviously it's bigger meals, it's more catered towards the certain actors and certain people's preferences. But you can't really say what it is, but it's depends on what obviously the catering company provides, and there's always a craft table, and it's just a legality, and also just for pure humanitarian reasons, have that lunch break, have them eat something. I can't really talk on what
people will feel better. People will feel better afterwards, and you'll just have a better set.
Yeah, especially if you're small cast and crew and you can't afford to pay people, or you can't afford to pay their full rates or whatever. I mean, food goes a long way.
And not just for short films, for corporate videos, usually it's provided on those sets. Music videos, even nice just have a nice snack afterwards or something like that, It's just a nice way for people that you're hiring that you can't really afford to pay that much. It's just a nice way to say thank you. So man, food's a big thing.
Yeah, pastries are pretty good as well. Just something. It doesn't have to be expensive. Just something that shows that you appreciate.
It helps to bury the hatchet at the end.
One last thing was I listened to this food podcast called Off Menu, and Noah Schnapp was on there, and they were talking about catering on these like different film sets. He said on one film set they'll have like a catering truck, and then people can go there and then order whatever they want from that catering truck. But then on like that was kind of like I think it was like a medium budget-ish film, which was still incredibly high budget. And then on a film he did with like Tom Hanks and Steven Spielberg, that was like apparently like Michelin star level food.
What, really?
And just like buffets of crazy stuff. So that must be insane.
Look at Robert Downey Jr. on the set of Avengers as well. Like he just hires out his own catering just for his friends and actors, and then they invite him to his caravan
village,
his village, and then they just come eat there as well. Like I think on set, it's just the nicest gesture you can give to someone. Even at the end of shooting certain feature films that have been on, like that's also a gift that some crew members give each other, or actors, like they give each other like snack boxes or like these baskets of food and stuff like that, and it's just also like a nice gesture. So okay, so this one comes from West Coast Lawyer 2020. Okay, so the title is Film School, ? Hi guys, my son is a recent high school grad and he wants to be a filmmaker. I've done some research on this, and some say go to college and go the film school route like that. Others say you can learn a lot with online filmmakers and start honing your craft that way. What would you suggest? He leans more toward music videos and filming, that type of thing. What advice would we give?
This is interesting because it comes from the parent's perspective, So obviously we were the children in the equations, the scenarios. We were like, Dad, I want to go to film school. And then Dad was like, no.
Yeah, because we all grew up in Mississippi.
Anyways, so this parent wants their kid to be to like have a good life. They're doing research. A lot of parents, when their kids are like, I want to go to film school, they're just like, no, you're not going to make any money. But it's good to see that that's not true. People are actually so awesome. You're being a very good parent. To you, the parent, I would say do film school.
So sweet. Okay, for me, I like that the parents doing research. I think also just look at your kids' work ethic, first of all. Like first make sure that this is a good career path for them, like with any other career. Just like maybe sit them down, make sure this is a career path, ask why they want to do this, gauge their passion. And if you see that passion within them and stuff, then okay, you can move forward. But film school is a good step. I think it's the most practical step just in terms of not just the learning experience, but also the connections you make, because you're going to because if your son doesn't have the connections right now, it is medium that does allow them to have a lot of connections going forward. Because if you want to just straight up go into experience, it's kind of hard to find exactly what avenue or where to go to get on set. So film school is the easiest in terms of you make the connections because a lot of your friends or teachers or lecturers will eventually, when you leave school, help you out in getting a job. Not help you out, but you'll have those connections. Your lecturers might bring special guests on and allow you to meet people that way and get like one-on-one advice like that. So, for us, we're probably biased because we come from film school, but also it's just the easiest way into gaining experience, because it's really hard if you want to just go straight off the bat into getting experience to get onto those sets, even at low levels nowadays, So I think just for the best practical way, for those connections and for them to have growing up experience, because I know a lot of people say YouTube, you learn a lot, but you can do that on your own time while also going to film schools. Why not do both? So I would also say film school all the way. A lot of people in the industry poo on it, but I think that's because they had like family. For real, no. Like I've been on sets where people said, no, you should have gave me all that money and came under me, but like it's hard to go that route because a lot of people that gain experience through going straight to set have family members with connections to those sets. And for people that don't have that, I say film schools all the way.
Yeah, it also depends on where they're living. They didn't specify. But if you live in a town that doesn't really have a film community, it's going to be very difficult to just go out there and do the thing. If you're living in a city or a town that does, though, then sure, that'll work. Or I think also film school is better in that situation because you're either going to send your kid to one of the cities that has a film community, and then they're just on their own trying to do it whatever while you footing the bill. Whereas if you sending them away to a different city, might as well just put them in a school that's going to teach them the things and give them like a place to go and meet people. I think it's going to be very difficult because like if you're in a place that doesn't have a film thing, you've never sort of communicated with people who are film minded, and if you just go to a city, you're like, one film job please, and it's like it's gonna be very difficult.
It gives you some kind of a stepping stone into the future, and it's something tangible that you can put your money towards and understand. Like if you just send your kid with some money, go to the city, make it big, like I think it's something tangible. The degree is tangible, the connections are tangible, and it's just something that you can really stand behind.
I think, I definitely agree. I do sit firmly in that camp as well. But I'm just thinking maybe perhaps if you are living in a place where there is already like an established film community, and it says that they're, obviously I'm just assuming a bunch of things if this is the case, but say for example, it says they are into like music videos and stuff. If your child is like an extremely like a sort of go-getter and you're already living in a place with like an established film community, then maybe they will just be able to like do it by themselves.
True.
But as I say, if you don't live in a place that has already a big established film community, I would say, even if they are a go-getter and you're living in a place that doesn't have a film community, I think go to an establishment.
Because my thing is like, even if you like, if you send your kid to film school and they like maybe thinking, no, if they just keep doing like short films or music videos, then their work will speak for it. I'm like, but you can still also do that in film school. You can still make those music videos. You can still do all of that. So I think it's just like all of those things can be added with film school. So I think that's your answer, like a little bit in that.
So the question from Perception OK 4847 is, how do I scale down my ideas, aka write for no budget instead of high budget? I have over 100 ideas and concepts written down, but every time I look at them, I can see they would cost £5 to £50 million. It's quite a range there, bro. Ever since I was interested in filmmaking, I've been so heavily influenced by Hollywood blockbusters with set pieces like car crashes, car chases, shootouts, explosions, exotic locations, fancy camera tricks, and color schemes that I don't know how to look at something actually affordable, which I now realize is closer to under £50,000. I don't know how to write for that level, plus I realized I'll probably have to direct it too. So I'm completely refocusing myself. My favorite genres are dramas, thrillers, and comedy. How should I approach making a no-budget film? I'm thinking I would shoot some short films first, although I don't even know how to write those. What's a good, impactful, under 10 minutes short in dramas, thrillers, and comedies? I have an old Samsung Grand Prime Pro mobile phone with 1080p and 64 gigabyte micro SD storage. Does anyone know how to integrate that into a video and audio setup that would cost under £500? And what cheap or free editing and sound programs do you use? And what books and YouTube videos do you use? I'm really trying to learn as much as I can before approaching people for collaboration.
I think before he goes into collaboration, he needs to take at least, or he or she, I don't know if they need to take at least like a year and a half worth of studying up on filming techniques. Like, I don't think this person should shoot right now at all.
Yeah.
Not to like be douchey about it or anything. I just think, judging from it, they said they want to learn. So I think first they learn for a good year and a half.
You know what's a good place for them to learn? On the timeline and on the page on our YouTube channel. Go check those out.
But yeah, I think definitely this individual should not be taking that much. If they can get that kind of funding, don't do that right now. I believe first research more. We'll give some book recommendations. Obviously, Robert McKee's story,
Cutting Rhythms by Karen Pearlman.
Yeah, the hero's journey, or like you just Google it, you'll find a bunch of books. They'll be there. I think just take some time first to learn quite a bit of it. If you can, I would suggest try and see if you can get onto some small sets. Even if you're not doing any jobs, if you can just shadow someone, that'd be really cool. I think the Samsung and all of that things, like the phone, like I think once you first learn more about the filmmaking, you can get more creative with it, because we don't want to dictate you like interesting ways you can use your phone. I think try and maybe research films that have used low quality cameras, that have used maybe one shot like Clerks and things like that. Try and see, like watch those references. Take a good year and a half before you get into it. Like I remember when Taika Waititi gave me that advice when he said, when I was like, how do you go pitch and how do you make these things? It's like, first make sure you sit down for a good year or so with whatever story you are and making sure that you know your craft, you learn your craft, and you understand everything, and then go into it, because I think you'll be shooting yourself in the foot if you're just overly ambitious and excited to go straight into shooting something, spending all that money and then only learning from your mistakes afterwards. I think try and learn as much as you can beforehand. You're going to make mistakes, but try and narrow down that level of mistakes you're going to be making by learning, by putting at least a year and a half into it, and maybe use that money rather for film school or like a short program or something.
I mean, I don't think that they were saying that they have this amount of money. I think they were saying that their ideas range from this amount to that amount. I think that I'm gonna be contrary to your point when you said that don't. I think that if you've got a phone, then definitely use that in the learning process. Shoot little things by yourself and cut them together and see how it works. You know, if you aren't gonna go to film school or something, or you're gonna learn online, then you're gonna learn the best by actually doing it. So I don't think you should think that you're gonna take your phone and make a huge thing. I think it also might help them solve their first sort of question, which was, how do I make something like small? And we've said this before, like, you've got your phone, but then look around, what else do you have? And just write a story using that, and then shoot it and cut it together. And then that might also help you realize how you can take all of those ideas you have and make sort of smaller, shorter, bite-sized versions of those ideas that might speak to them. But you don't have to have all the budget in the world to explore like interesting ideas.
Yeah, I think
Mm.
Can be very contained.
then I think I definitely misread the question. I thought they said that they did have that amount of money or something like that. Or
No, yeah, look, I also thought that initially, but I think towards the end when they were saying, how can I use my phone, which is a phone that I've never even heard of, 1080p, whatever, and it's like, maybe just use what you have and see what you can make, and then YouTube, like, literally if you type into YouTube, beginner filmmaker gear, you're going to get tons of stuff.
Yeah.
And then they wanted recommendations as well for things.
We'll put them in the description.
Yeah, we'll put them in the description off the top of my head. This guy edits Nerd Writer, Film Riot, Cinecom, all of these places. But you'll be able to just, as I say, Google, and then all of the best ones are right to the top. And also Loop Pictures.
Loop Picture.
I just want to go back to my point because I think I completely misunderstood that. And then I agree because when I was in high school, like I think I spoke about this multiple times, where I also just took my phone, made stop motion things with my like underarm and all of that things. And
Did you say your underarm?
yeah, like my roll on and all of that.
Oh.
Not my actual underarm.
Yeah.
Like my roll on.
Deodorant.
My deodorant.
I did say that.
With my deodorant, with like a bottle of shampoo, like I made these stop motion things where I drew faces on them and stuff, and it actually got quite like following in high school. So and it's really fun to shoot with those kind of things because a lot of the really good first-time directors that use that limitations to make really good films. I mean, Steven Spielberg used to use his Super 8 camera or something like that to film train crashes and stuff like that with his
model
train sets and stuff like that. So I misread the comments, but I think play around with the camera you have, and it can actually make your story much more unique and make it stand out from the rest that do try to make their stuff look more big budget. And I think that's what will make it stand out. So
something that we've picked up from a lot of these questions is like people who aren't already into film think that you can sort of just like become a feature film director or get a job on a feature film, which is not really how it works. And I don't know how, like, it's probably just the education thing, probably just the way, like, nobody talks about it if you're not in the industry already. But, like, the big thing is to just start at the bottom, be willing to, because this guy was saying making a feature film, or this person was saying making a feature film under £50,000, but it's like, then they were saying, okay, maybe I should make short films, but I don't know how to do those. And it's like, people always like aim for features immediately, which is not their fault because they don't know.
I mean, we were the same, I feel like, at a certain age.
Yeah, but like as soon as you sort of start digging into it, you realize I need to practice first. I need to do short films. I need to figure out the small kind of things, which they already phrased, which is why I picked the question. They phrased it properly. How do I make my ideas fit or make my ideas smaller? And I think you did answer that. So I think they're like on the right path, but I think the big thing, like there should just be like a banner anywhere so anybody asks questions. It's like just be like, these are the steps, so that they don't have to ask like, oh, okay, so I'm probably not going to make my feature first. I'm probably going to make a short film, because you see a lot of these people who as they first like practice make a feature film. I'm not bashing anybody, sometimes those can be good. You always see them make the mistakes that they would have made in the short films, but on a much bigger budget, on a much larger scale. And then you're like, oh, I made a feature film when I was 19, but nobody cares because it's bad, because I didn't practice before.
You end up like the guy from Parks and Rec that was a mayor of a town at 19 and just destroyed their budget.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't want to just as a bragging rights. Like, I think my goal also was just to like be one of the youngest feature film directors. But then, like, I think your goal should be to get to the space where you're comfortable enough to at whatever age you are, even if it takes me until I get to my 40s to make my first feature, I'll be fine with it as long as it's like something I know that I took the time with, and that I was patient with myself in terms of knowing what my skills and
because movie making isn't a race to the finish line. It's more a race for quality. You know, you're not going to get awards just because you're young. You're going to get awards because it's good.
And you don't want the goal to be the awards and stuff like that. Because I remember when I was like young, I was like, oh, I want to be like Damien Chazelle and get an Oscar at such a young age and all of that. But, you know, we can't all be that person. And you get brilliant directors of all ages and of all experience types that make such good pieces of art. And it's not because their end goal was to win an Oscar. It's not their end goal was to be the best of the end goal was to serve the story justice, was to make something they believed in. And once you get to that level where you believe in the story, you believe in some level on your directing skills and your art and your craftsmanship, then you just make the project that serves for that reason and not for any other reason. Otherwise, it will kind of, you'll kind of see that when you see that someone try to make it the best of this or try to make it that, you know? And I think that feeds in again to the ego aspect of it as well.
And yeah, I think the last little thing before we read another one is they're asking for recommendations for short films. I mean, Short of the Week is the one to go to, but there's lots of other places popping up. There's some great ones on YouTube as well. Also, sup.co.za. Check it out. So we have one here from username The On Life. B-roll's use in the film industry. So they say there's a pretty hilarious conversation going on in a videography Facebook group I'm a part of regarding the term cinematic B-roll. A few people have stated that the term B-roll comes from narrative film world, but with my background in broadcast /B2B work, we always use the term in reference to supplementary footage to talking head segments. I'm curious to hear from people who actually work on narrative projects. Is B-roll a term that's used, and if so, in what context?
That's a good question.
I feel like I don't want to answer this incorrectly.
My understanding of cinematic B-roll isn't necessarily that B-roll is used in cinema. It's the fact that the B-roll that you're catching looks like it could be in a movie, right? Now, to answer the question that they're asking, what is B-roll's role in cinema? I think there is definitely, aerial shots when it's like transitioning to a different city. Inserts is also a different word for B-roll. I feel like where let's say somebody's turning on a light switch and then you get like a close-up of the light switch.
Is that B-roll though?
Because it's supplementary to the A-roll, which is the
A-roll.
That's what you call it.
Which would be a wider shot of someone doing the same thing.
Yeah, but with because like the hand could be anybody's hand, but like the A-roll would be with the actor. You know?
Isn't insert B-roll?
I don't think I think a B-roll doesn't have any like action of the story in it. I feel like
But a cutaway is also an insert.
No, I think they did different. I think an insert is something that's just a close-up. I feel like
Yaku lens filmmaking.
I feel like a B-roll is something that doesn't have any like real characters in it. It's it's like cutaways of crowds, it's cutaways of establishing buildings, of locations, of cities, of cars. Like I feel like it's something that's not really character driven in B-roll. That's my understanding.
I don't think there is B-roll in cinema.
Yeah, that's what I was confused about.
Because it's also interesting that they say in B-roll is over the talking head segments, which makes a lot of sense. Like even documentaries have B-roll. The B-roll in a documentary isn't like the reenactment. It would be like just showing what they're talking about. So I don't think B-roll comes from cinema, but I think the term cinematic B-roll comes from Peter McKinnon. No, but comes from YouTubers saying that the shots that they're getting to go along with their talking heads look like they could be in a movie. I think that's what it means. I don't think cinema movies have B-roll because, like we just said, they've got inserts, you got cutaways, but those aren't like something completely different. It's not like while the actor is performing the monologue, you're gonna cut to the thing that they're talking about. You can stay on the actor, right?
Yeah. And I thought, and I was thinking, does it come from like when in cinema when you have a massive crew and you get the B team, the A team, and all that, they go shoot different things. But I also don't think it comes from that because the B team can still be shooting stuff that's character and narrative driven, like when like the B team of when the Avengers Age of Ultron when they came, the B team, the second unit when they came here, like that's also like I agree with you that I don't think B-roll is necessarily something in cinema because in cinema mainly all the shots that you get taken is intentional and most of the case. And then when it comes to B-roll, I think it's like more for the YouTuber space where I think it's become popular in the past like 5 years or so, where it's just something for your intro, something for your outro, or like just these.
So you don't have to look at a face hold.
Yeah, and like for film, those things aren't there just for the sake of looking pretty. It's there to establish something. It's there for narrative purposes. You could say that cutaways are the cinematic version of B-roll, but not really, you know what I mean? I think when you say cinematic B-roll, that is like referring to something that's more corporate or more YouTuber space and all that. So
I'm thinking like when we're doing our review videos, the B-roll is like the shots that we do with the lights and then it's the camera or the whatever. That's B-roll.
Come and try something interesting. Let me see if I Google B-roll, what comes up.
That's a good, let's see.
Yeah, I mean, we'll do a lot more Googling and we'll put links that we find in the description for this because We don't know as well. I think it would be interesting to find out where B-roll originated.
In a film and television production, B-roll and B-reel is original B-reel, or
No, you be real.
is supplemental or alternative footage intercut with the main shot.
Yeah.
So it's saying it's from film and television. It comes from.
And the answer is that cutaway is B-roll.
Yeah. I don't
Blowing my
know.
mind.
So Yaku was right since the beginning.
Yaku knows.
According to Google, Yaku was correct.
Yaku, that's the thing.
That's a good place to wrap it up. We also sort of got confused. So we don't know everything.
Yeah.
If you found anything that we said that you don't agree with or that you think needs more explanation on, leave it down in the comments. We would love to read and react, and we try to reply to all of them. If you liked this video, then hit the like button. Just, make that little gray guy turn blue. It'd be really cool. And then while you're down there, might as well just hit subscribe. We've got a ton of filmmaking content, writing content, camera reviews, editing, podcasts. Go check it out, browse, and if you like it, hit subscribe. Until next time, go out there, stay safe, and make your movie.